wants 200, baby.
You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. What's going on, traders? How we doing out there? Let's get it started. It's another week here, and you guys know it's good old China and U.S. talks as Trump is having talks in London, and we'll see what happens as the team tries to make a deal, and we'll see, can we get a China deal or not? I mean, I don't think we're going to get anything this week, but maybe at least a little bit of some calming down of what's going on out there. We'll wait to find out there, of course. And I am in some trades already as the market is kind of ticking higher, right? I mean, we are going higher now. You guys can see that we're starting to kind of develop a nice flag break. I'll show you guys that chart as we take a look at the overall market before we get into the playbook. But let's take a quick look here. Overall market, you can see the SPY kind of hanging in right now, and it's not looking too bad, right? You broke out of this trend line. Now you're trying to hold it on the pullback. I'd be watching to see what happens if we break that today. We go back through 599. That's going to be the concern. But unless we break 599, we can continue playing some upside action. I'm actually in a name short that I might just cover right now, which is APAD. And you guys see that trade right there in front of you. I was actually up close to 300 on this position, was hoping to see this stock down there by 1330s today. It's closer towards the 1430s. This is a big spot because I'm in right above it here. I might wait for the open to see if I'm able to hold on and get a little bit of a drop on APLD on the swing short, guys. But we'll see what happens with this one coming back a little bit. I swung this one on Friday. We'll look to see if it comes back. I could see it going back towards 1160s, but it could also make that break right through that 1533s. We'll see what happens here towards the gates and on APLD. But that's enough of that trade. Let's get into other trade action that I'm watching in the market today. And there's a lot to take a look at this morning. So let's get into the playbook and see what we can trade. And like always, guys, if you guys want to check us out, you guys can check us out on Twitter. We put out the playbook every single day for you guys to get it first. All right, traders, let's get into the action. Let's take a look at what's going on right now. Sorry about that, fixing my light up a little bit there. And let's get to the first stock of the action. I'm going to take a look at RCAT, and we can talk about the drone companies overall. I've talked about DroneCat before this run, as there was already mentions of this trend, and I did try to play it here on the first break of 7, and I even played it on the second break of 7, but I sold it that day into the $8 break on the next day move, especially in that Wednesday, was able to sell some into the 8s. And I'm just going to continue trying to rinse and repeat this. You can do it as a day trade, swing trade, but I think RCAT is definitely a name to watch. And it's not just this, right? You have also UMAC that you can play on this, and you could also take a look at UAV. Right. And so all these are making the moves. UMAC is probably my second favorite, as this has a nice developing pattern, continues to break higher. And that's exactly what you want to see in a name like this. We'll see if they can continue moving. And of course, with the recent comments that Trump's been talking about drones and all the conversation that's coming out of Ukraine and the Russian war, I think you continue to watch these names to see for bigger liftoff. All right, we'll get out of that conversation. Let's go to a name that I've been talking about here for, it seems like, a week and a half. I traded this last week through the 116. Take a look at it this morning as AMD really starts to look kind of like it's developing a nice trend and could break through the 200 EMA and really start to get things going here. So I really like this stock as it's starting to push there towards the 120s. And we'll be looking to see if we can finally get that break above. Ever since this kind of wick handle where it did this fake out to the downside, we've been holding the 9 EMA on pullback. So that's areas to look in 4 pullbacks, right? Maybe 116 today, but above these highs, 120s, I'm going to be looking to get back into AMD and just continue riding the trend. Of course, you guys know I was in it with AMDL, and I was actually in it at a pretty good price. I was in it at like 1560s. I added. I was at 1580s. Gonna look for a run from 6 to 7 with this name. And of course, this is the leverage version. So if you want to take a look at AMDL and maybe use a little bit more of your buying power to go towards the leverage name, well, this is the way to do it. We'll see what happens today with this ticker here, guys. And now I'm going to be watching this as this has been a bigger trade that I've really been trying to nail. And of course, we'll continue battling out there, traders. We'll see what we got. Got to keep on pushing on, guys. Let's see what else is out there and trading right now. Let me catch up in the chat, see what you guys are looking at. What's going on? Good morning to you, Steph. Luigi, how we doing? See any traders out there? And Kayla, what's going on out on X? I didn't even know people knew how to use the comments on X. There's very few that do. So hit the like button and let me know what trades you guys are looking at. We could definitely talk about it. Looking around to see anything that's coming on the kind of, let's take a look at some of these small caps. Any of these small caps moving right now. We got KNW as top name to the 360. This thing's really been rocketing this morning. This thing was up big at the morning. This is why you got to wake up early sometimes. But this is nice developing chart. I like it on the 15-minute chart. You can see how you come back down through this trend line. Now you've broken above, giving yourself a chance for this to break out. I think you continue to watch it on the 5-minute now, and you can see how you broke out above that level. Now I'm looking for a 9 EMA test. Give me a pullback into this area, right? This 340, and then I can risk off this left-hand side. Left-hand side would be the 320s. So I need a risk on 320s. I want a chance for 340s and then a move back through 375. We'll see if we get that breakout and it breaks right back above this 375. KNW breaking down a trade right here for you on Trade the Pool. All right, let's take a look at another one here. ELAB, another one setting up here. $2 stock here has made the push, holding way below the VWAP. So in this name, you want it to show you the move a little bit further than you jump really quickly. What is that going to be? That's going to be a break of 3. So there's ways to go at it here, but I think I'd wait for the 3 break to see if you want to make a run to 4 during the open. There's a smaller one, KLTO. I'll just go to one more here. One more setup. We'll take a look at that. That's up towards the 70s, has made one run, kind of a breakout, pull back, trying to hold this. It could go to 50s and then try to make an attempt towards 70 cents. That's just the way that I see this one as a small one. Is this the run to all-time highs for Bitcoin? I think it is, and I think that we continue to do that. Why? There's a big reason. We'll talk a little bit more about the Bitcoin conversation coming up, so stick around. We'll get into that conversation with Michael Noss, as I think this is a good conversation for the overall market also. So, hey, this is where you want to be. Trade the Pool. Do me the favor right now. Hit that share button down below. Let's get this out on X. I'm going to actually be holding a big raffle pretty soon here for some swag giveaways. So, hey, the one way that you can show up on my radar, hey, just go ahead and hit the retweet, hit that share button, hit the X, retweet us, and put us out there. Let us know that you guys are watching. And it's good morning to all you guys. Let me know what stock you're watching this morning. I'll take a look at your names. And first thing we're going to do is get into the Sunrise Report, where we talk about what stocks are moving and why they're moving. Let's get right to it in this morning Sunrise Report. All right, traders, good morning to you. Let's take a look here on the Sunrise as U.S. equity futures are little change on Monday as the S&P 500 trades near a record high. And busy week, of course, a potential market moving news kicks in. The S&P futures were up just a slight tick, about 0.1. The Dow futures up about 44 points, about 0.1 also. NASDAQ futures were pretty much flat. Of course, all 3 major indexes are coming off 2 straight winning weeks. The S&P 500 closed above the 6,000 level on Friday for the first time since February 21st. And it's now within 3% of its record high. Big talk right there to be keeping an eye out for us, as we'll be watching to see, can we get towards that all-time high on the SPY? I think that's definitely something within reach. We've talked about it since the bottom. And yes, we've been all over this. And this is the good thing about having, multiple kind of traders on here. Michael's been kind of in more of that bullish camp and staying in that camp. And I can't blame himself. We've drawn this line also, and I got to respect it, right? The V bottom has worked, and we're almost back to that all-time high. So keep your eyes on it, as we could happen just this week, right? Global Trade Watch, though, of course, as President Trump said that U.S. and China officials will be meeting in trade talks in London on Monday. We'll see what happens with that and what do we get out of there. Then we got to take a look to see what happens in Apple. Yes, Apple, big watch today, guys. And I think this is one that we can watch right out the gates. So add one more to the playbook this morning, as we'll be watching to see if Apple just wants to get running right before the World Developers Conference today, as we get, of course, Apple's WWDC. And it's 2025 kicks off today. Of course, last time we got kind of the Apple lens and the goggles there. And just give me 1 second, guys. I got to get my cat down here. Hendrickson. Sorry about that, guys. All right, I'm back here. All right, let's get right back into the action. Of course, we'll be watching to see what happens with Apple's conversation here, as last time we got really good conversation with the Pro goggles, right? Now we'll see what they have. There's updates on software, AI, and hardware strategies. I think the biggest thing is to look to see if we get any surprises in AI conversation. And just as I talk about that, APLD at least taking a nice down action move. We'll keep an eye out on that. That's just my swing trade I'm watching there. But this Apple conversation is definitely important, guys. We'll see what happens with it. And I think you just look to see if this runs into the event, right into it. So a breakout towards, let's say, 207 out the gates is definitely going to be something I'll be watching for. 205 recovery is a good look there. We get key inflation data this week, of course. This is the biggest watch on the economic front, as we'll get CPI report on Wednesday. We'll get Producers Price Index, PPI, on Friday. And we'll also get Michigan consumer sentiments. And, of course, Friday's traders, we're going to be watching for the signs of how the tariffs are impacting prices. And everyone's watching for inflation. We'll see what happens with that and what kind of comments we get out of that. Let's get back to the charts. Let's take a look at Warner Brothers this morning and why is it lifting, as WBD gets a nice lift off there towards 11. And this is an interesting conversation in just streaming overall, as Warner Brothers here plans to split its two companies into two public companies, one that houses streaming and film content, the other to manage the cable networks like CNN and TNT Sports. This is where I get a little bit confused. I mean, the whole idea was to kind of put things together and really kind of push on it. I even saw moves to really bring kind of the sports to the streaming space, which I think really helped, especially during the March Madness months. But maybe they're seeing something that we're not seeing here. But I think that if you think about the two public companies and which one you want to have, I want to have the streaming and film content side versus the dying cable networks. But hey, we'll see what happens with this. Warner Brothers was actually halted for a little bit on this and has been reopened. We'll see if it can get there towards 11 and make a little bit of a run on Warner Brothers. Let's go to Tesla, as that's down 2% this morning, downgraded here and getting hit here to neutral from Bard. And that is bad news here with Tesla written all over it. I talked about how this could go right back down, and it's already dropping fast here in the pre-market. This might have to be a trade that we take now, but hey, I'll keep going through the news here, of course. The firm is calling Musk's robotaxi talk too optimistic. Flag uncertainty around Musk's ties to President Trump. So, hey, the battle continues, of course. There wasn't too many new comments this weekend with Trump and Elon. There was a comment or two about the relationship ending. And then Elon, of course, pulling down his tweet, blaming Trump or accusing him of being in the Epstein files. But we won't get into that whole conversation. That's for another show. Let's go to another stock here that's up this morning on SATS. This is all about what? This is all about satellites. And this is actually taking a little bit of a hit on this. They talked about that the Wall Street Journal, that the company might file Chapter 11 bankruptcy to protect wireless spectrum licenses currently under the FCC's review. So we'll see what happens here. I think this could be a company that eventually gets the buyout in bankruptcy. But we all know bankruptcy sometimes actually makes stocks go up. So we'll see what happens with this. This is going to be an interesting one to watch because it went down off the news. It went down to 1053. It's back to 1560. What's going to happen here? Something to look at. Of course, Hood and AppLovin and others are kind of in a little bit of surprise as there was no S&P ads or no kind of rejections there. They just kind of stayed on the sideline there as Robinhood actually popped in the after hours up there towards 80.87 based on the thoughts that it would get the S&P inclusion. But both stocks slipped after being passed over for the inclusions. But there really wasn't any inclusion here to begin with, right? So that's something to think about. I think Hood could definitely be a trade that could be a short, but you got to continue to watch because Bitcoin's ripping right now, trying to make new highs. And just that alone could keep Hood going. We'll see what happens there. All right, let's continue going. Let's go now over to the next stock. We'll take a look at IonQ as they're acquiring Oxford Ionics for $1.075 billion in cash and expected to close in 2025, recovering the 9 EMA here. And it was hot on Friday. So these bounced back on Friday and held their move. Now I'd be looking to see if we get a real day two move. Pullbacks to prior resistance or Friday's resistance would be a really good level to look at. That's down the 40s. I don't know if we'll get there, but it's something to look at here with all these quantum names. You can take a look at QBTS ripping there to $19 this morning, held the 9 EMA pullback. If anything, put it in a bullish engulfing candle that we can rely on now to take some risk. So in this case, a lot of times I would look at this red candle to be the area where I don't want it to break anymore, right? At this point, you can even put it up to the top end of that. That's the 67. So somewhere in there, I could look for some pullback action to see if I can join the party. Right now in the pre-market, we have a support closer here towards like $18. So anything between $18 and that 1760s is going to be the area that I'm going to be looking to get some buys on these quantum names. We'll see what happens on QBTS, QUBT, Rigetti. They're all hot there as we get in quantum names to get the bounce back. All right, we'll keep going. We'll take a look at some other action here as we keep it moving. Let's get towards McDonald's as they're downgraded this morning by Morgan Stanley to equal weight and citing broader sector pressures. And you can see it, McDonald's starting to turn around. This could actually be a bet on the downside, but we'll see because this has held a trend line like crazy, guys. This has been a pretty long trend line that it's held. Can McDonald's finally break it? That'd be bad news for the consumer, but this could also just get bought back up as it's been kind of always kind of holding this. This recent downturn really in August was the only time that we really pressured it. All right, earnings on deck tonight, of course. So you got some other ones that will be coming out. Actually, I think this was off a little bit, but yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Yeah, that's a little mistake. I pulled it from another day. All right, but that's going to do it for us on the Sunrise Report. Let's go ahead. Let's kick off the show. Let's go back to the SPY and take a look at what's going on in the market right now. The market's kind of hanging on this trend line approach. We'll see if it can make a break towards above the 600, 650 as we broke 600 on Friday. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on Michael Noss. How we doing, my friend? Good morning to you.
Another beautiful Monday morning to be a bull.
Beautiful, man. It's another day we get to trade, man. And there's some stocks kind of higher, starting to lift off. And we can take a look at some of the names. We can take a look at the overall market. We can take a look at Bitcoin ripping higher. And of course, anything that you got on your dock. Let's go to it, Michael. I'll let you take over. Let us know what you're seeing in the market. And of course, one of the names that I forgot to mention that I'm seeing already lift off today, Amazon, man. That was one that I was seeing it last week, and it just felt like there was some, to me, institutional action on that name. So we'll be watching to see if we get some more trades on that. Let's get to your charts here. Let's take a look at the market. And what are you seeing?
Yeah, the big standout for me is actually IWM outperforming.
Finally some IWM action.
Yeah, and that's that reaction right there is why it's surprising to me, because IWM never outperforms, at least over the last like 5 years. It's been a complete stinker. So to see, it gapping up today, the Qs are only gapping up 0.08%, and IWM is gapping up near 1%. That's really interesting. And the fact that if you look just at the chart and how well it stuck this breakout, and then you compare that to something like the Qs that did stick the breakout, but you had to squint your eyes a little bit more. This is interesting to me, seeing this. So the main sectors, obviously, that make up the IWM is small banks, so regional banks and biotechs. And generally speaking, those do better with lower rates. So I don't know if this is the market taking a big bet that we're going to see some lower rates coming soon, but it's definitely something.
That's exactly it, man. At least from what I've been seeing is pricing in for 2 cuts in this year, and that kind of adjusted. That wasn't the same way. I was trying to kind of pull up the data for it to kind of explain it here, and I'm almost there. I'm just trying to pull in the right meetings to kind of show you the real change. Mainly, it's like towards September and October, right, where they're starting to see that kind of shift, right? And here's a perfect chart to kind of at least show you it, right, from the CME Fed Watch tool. I'll show you guys that really quickly. So you can see here, like a month ago, in like May 9th, we were at like 24% for this cut. Now you can see here it's like 45, right? And so it's starting to head in that direction. And some people are saying as many as 2 cuts. So that's something to look for. And that could explain why IWM is starting to see at least some movement, because it could mean that the worst for at least rates is behind us.
Yeah, and this is one of the most beaten down sector, right? There's one of, in theory, if you read the textbooks, there's supposed to be a premium on small caps because they're generally more risky, and generally speaking, if you take more risk, you expect more return, right? And obviously, a whole bunch of small caps going bankrupt is way more likely than an Nvidia or Apple or any number of these names. So the idea is that small caps are supposed to give you a little bit of risk premium, but they have not done that forever, right? You can see this is the 2021 high. We broke that just by a couple ticks and then fell, whereas the SPY, right, this is the 2021 high, ripped for multiple years before we had this last bear market. So yeah, that's really interesting to me that we're seeing that, and that we're also seeing, again, the SPY outperforming the Qs, at least in this pre-market gap. So that shows more than anything that if we go to our pre-market map, that it's other things other than potentially just NASDAQ related names that are doing so well. And I think it's really a lot the pull down in Tesla, and then the overperformance in banks, because the Qs doesn't have any financials in it. So generally, when you get SPYs outperforming Qs, you can trace that back to banks doing really well, which they are right now.
That's at least from where I've been seeing some overweight analysts, definitely in the financials, industrials, still utilities. So definitely some area to watch there.
Well, and we're seeing that with, if you look at like copper, right? They call it Dr. Copper for a reason. Is because this only goes up when the overall market is bullish on building shit, right? That's what you need copper for. So if this is moving lower, then they don't think there's going to be as much stuff built. But we saw a breakout of that. Talk in my book a little bit here because I have a bunch, but we talked about this too. Breakout in platinum, huge move in platinum, and then a huge move in silver. So a lot of nice little gap up in silver today too. So yeah, a lot of metals, precious metals, underlying things that you don't see if the overall public or the investors out there, the people moving money, are worried about the economy. Yeah. You continue to see this higher. Now, if we take a look here at the SPY, they are finally, we can all give a round of applause for the large speculators that finally, as of last week, got a little bit long for the first time ever. So this whole rally here, they've completely missed. And now that we're up about 25% or so on the lows, you're finally starting to see the worst traders in the world get a little bit long. This isn't enough for me to say this is a crowded trade or anything. It's about break even. But it's one of the big things that I was leaning on when I was so massively bullish all in through here, right? And there are a lot of people that were trying to fade price. We talk about this all the time. We don't fade price, we fade positioning. Now the positioning is very slightly positive, so it's less them getting hurt all the time as things go up. They're still underinvested, dramatically underinvested, but they're no longer short. So that's kind of the first thing that needs to have happen to push through there. Then the last thing I thought that was interesting on the weekend, like you mentioned as well, Mitch, was this. This was a pretty obvious looking potential head and shoulders here, and the best head and shoulders are the ones that fail, right? Because this is 60 some odd percent of head and shoulders patterns fail. Looks like this one has now failed, which is great because first it actually broke down and kind of confirmed the breakdown of the neckline. So that has gotten even more people short Bitcoin. So you can see if you bring up right here the new commitment of traders data, they got more short last week as Bitcoin continued to look like it was going to break down, and now it's just reversed on them. So the large institutions are as short as they've been in Bitcoin since all the way back here at 30,000, 40,000. So this could be potentially really explosive, a huge short squeeze potential here on Bitcoin.
It's something definitely to look for. I think I'll be watching to see if Ethereum can continue. I think it's a big watch here. I mean, we definitely have the opportunity to continue running. Nice pattern here to really kind of push. But we keep getting closer and closer to that trend line. I'm continuing to watch. I'm looking for a bigger breakout here towards the all-time highs. I mean, we're not too far from it. So I think we might have that one ramp day, and that's when I'm going to start getting concerned for the kind of turnaround right back down. And then we got to continue to watch to see what happens with the China talk today to see if we get any kind of mentions that could help the action to the upside. That's definitely something that's on the radar.
Yeah, I'm watching this in crypto. This ratio I think is super interesting. This is just Bitcoin Ethereum ratio. So generally speaking, right, Bitcoin, as doesn't surprise anyone, Bitcoin is king and Ethereum is lagging horribly for years and years. Then they had this kind of one spurt out of nowhere where Bitcoin or Ethereum really outperformed Bitcoin. And then ever since then, it's been kind of chopping sideways. So for me to get interested in alts or memes or anything like that again, I think this ratio has to start to turn back up, right? Just to start to show that people, because there's a growing section. I had a big conversation with a crypto guy about how I've been using Bitcoin as my risk on, risk off metric for so long. And he thinks I'm looking at it wrong now. He says this guy deals with a lot of financial advisors and planners, and he's saying seeing more and more allocation to Bitcoin as the digital gold that everyone's been saying it would be at some point. So he looks at a rise in Bitcoin as a little bit more of a potential risk off style of thing. And what he's using, again, a fellow technician, he's using this ratio as a good risk off, risk on type of gauge, because if Ethereum is doing very well, then it means that the crypto people are moving to the junkier type names, and then also like Solana Bitcoin ratio, right, where Solana had its day right here. This is all the craziness of all those meme stocks. And then ever since then, relative to Bitcoin, it's been selling off a little bit. So just an interesting way, different way to look at that. However, we do see the fart is holding on and looks like we're pushing back up here. So
just hold on, fart. Hold on.
That's the risk on, risk off indicator there. Again, you can't tell me that anyone thinks a recession is coming if Fartcoin's over $1 billion in market cap, which it's $1.1 billion right now. So that's the under $1 billion in market cap. I don't know. Maybe we can start to have a recession.
We're going to see what happens with that fart and all the action in today's market. A lot of the quantum names hot. We'll still watch these nuclear plays.
Yes.
There's some plays out there, man. I think we got to continue watching. I'm seeing more and more talks of TEM. Of course, they even had a short report out that couldn't knock it down. So if you can't knock it down on a short report, this makes me feel more excited about this name. We'll see.
Space was really interesting to me. Already ASTS. Breaking out here, but ASTS had this really prominent downtrend line. Man. Rested there for 2 days, gapping up this morning. Rocket Lab A lot of these space names. Another nice prominent downtrend line gapping up over that today. So for a day trade, I have these on the short list to short the gap down, but from a long-term kind of swing trading point of view, I like the look of these names.
Yeah, man, that RKLB looks like a nice cup and handle. We'll look for that to go higher. Reason why I think that one could continue breaking out also is some people are going to start to think that Trump might get really revengeful and kind of start taking money away from SpaceX. And with that being said, that could get real ugly, and Rocket Lab could get some more contracts because of that. So just keep an eye out. You might see some actual euphoria go towards Rocket Lab because of that. We'll see if Tesla keeps cutting down.
Well, and with these particular companies, that when you mention contracts, that's the fuel. It's just like FDA approval for a drug company is the thing that will fuel. If you hold a company and it passes phase 3, that company is going to triple or double or triple. If you're holding a Rocket Lab or an ASTS and they now it's a big juicy government contract, that's the catalyst for this thing, is that huge kind of move from there. So that's the I know there's a lot of systems and algos out there that kind of separate what is the catalyst for each of these names. And in this case, it definitely could just be any sort of government contract, just get out of its way.
Yeah, and of course, ASTS had that rumor with Amazon and kind of more partnership with that. I'd also watched the monthly on ASTS. I feel like it's very clean. So this stock might be trading at a point where it's kind of gone sideways here for a good while now. It can start the real nice breakout, and I'd be looking at those monthly levels to see where you run into resistance. But you can see how clean it gets when you get to the monthly. It just looks really pretty compared to the daily chart. That daily chart, like that whipsaw from that up, breaking the support would have scared a lot of traders out, right? And then you can see the monthly, it's still really pretty, even with that look.
So then, I think you're just right, and you just grab these prior highs, and these are your zones to watch, right? So this one here is 35, 35.50, and this one's 39. If we can get through that, we can go. These are also, I'm trying to look it up now.
I expect a little chop between that, right? Like maybe between 32 and 38, a little choppy as it tries to develop through 40. If it can get through 40, you can see a rocket, I think, move through that. But these are good ones. And of course, if they get that Amazon mention further, that's what you want to see.
27% short float on ASTS. Perfect. So that's another rocket fuel,
another SPAC,
right? We can another SPAC that went almost to zero first, and then now is finally back.
It gave you an opportunity, man. This was an opportunity, not a negative story, an opportunity.
Another
you'd be
Chamath rug pull that
you'd be up 1,300% if you bought it at the bottom.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. Right,
1,300 though. That's not a bad game, man.
Just buy it at the bottom. Rocket Labs.
The thing was, I thought what the important part is that if you took your shots on 10 YOLOs with these SPACs, right? 10 of the stories that you kind of believed in that actually had businesses, right? You did the deep research. ASTS seemed to make sense to me. Space, satellites for mobile, it just seemed to make sense at the time.
It's one of those, like, it's doubled since 2020 is the way I kind of look at these, right? So you were better not paying attention to this at all until it came back through that price, because it doubled since 2020. If you just put your money in the market, right, instead of having to deal with all this craziness, what's 2020 right here, you made 100%, and you didn't need to worry about all that crazy stuff. So that's kind of the way I look at them, and the same as IPOs. We talk about this all the time. Most SPACs fall significantly, right? They had to delist the SPAC ETF because all these SPACs were doing so poorly. And then you just wait for them to start coming up the other side. That's what makes a cup and handle, right? That's why something like an ASTS is so interesting. If you had avoided all this nonsense, and then as it came back up through kind of its back price here at $10, you started to pay attention. Well, right, that's all the way up to 300, and then now is where I'm starting to get interested in these things. Rocket Lab 17%. short float, so not as
Not as
much,
high.
but still not nothing, right? It's still nearly 1 in 5 shares out there are borrowed. That represents 3 days to cover, which just means that if every trade for 3 days was a cover, then that could be interesting. So I like both high short floats and trends that look like this. Those are the things you have to combine. You can't do a high short float with, something like an AMC, because those shorts are not worried, right? So you're looking for high short floats and nice upward trends. Both of these things, especially ASTS, both of them have it. So really high short float there.
Might have to cut my APLD and look to get back in it. We'll see if I get out of it towards the open. I'll let you guys know. I had this swing short
Topping tail on
Friday.
Yeah.
Made money like shorting it on the day trade, and then I got out of that day trade and I took the cash and I said, you know what? Just swing it short. I was up pretty good towards the close too. I was just trying to see if for any reason we'd get a little bit of a gap down today. I could sell into that gap down, but instead it is coming back a little bit. I'll be watching for it. I'm definitely not going to let it go into the red. If it goes like back through like my entry, which is 1468, I'll be looking for a move above 15 to short. But I really think this one is extended. I don't think it really deserves this kind of move. But you got to be careful with these names, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it is a kind of a rocket here. And my biggest thing is that you're really extended. You were, especially on Friday, you were like way away from the Bollinger Band. That was another reason it gave me the sign of maybe like today was the topping sign. So I'll look to see if we can even get back to that high. That's 1542. If we can't do that, I think we could get a pullback right back down towards the 9 EMA, which is 1145, which gives a huge potential reward, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to be willing, I think, in this type of trade to get out and then get back in. That's going to be the harder part. Being willing to let it go is actually a harder thing than just to hold on to it and get a big loser out of it, right? So you got to be willing to step out and wait for the price action to go back to the way it was on Friday, which was a quick free fall, right? So we'll see what happens on this.
Yeah, and that's one of those. It's the you try to take probably 3, 4, 5 little tiny cuts, and then when you nail it and something like this, let's go. Yeah, even if it just comes back to test the breakout of $10, it's a 30% down move, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you just got to keep the risk tight and then look for the bigger move. And it's really going to come with, let's say, a potential day that we actually get a down move in the market, right? Because that's what's going to need to really kind of give you that real juice down. But I thought that, maybe we could get a little bit of some down here. We'll see what happens out the gates, guys.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of in the mode of there needs to be an excuse for down moves. Like, right, we're up so much that the market's looking for an excuse, just can't find it. Now that, right, everyone is not short, I still think, right, all-time highs are kind of inevitable here, but
yeah,
that everyone being short was my my sign to be as bulled up as I possibly could. Now there's less of that. I'm certainly not going to bet against this amazing trend, but there's not that absolute need for every dip to get bought up, right? That was a symptom of the whole world was short. If you want it to be a contrarian, you had to buy stocks, right? Anyone who was betting that the market was going to sell off then was just kind of going with the herd and going with everyone else that was short. Now that's changed, right? Where they're not very long, but they're not short anymore. So that there's not that desperation of, oh, we need the market to dip a little bit so I can buy stocks. We don't need to dip a little bit because, again, we're going net long now on the market. So that to me makes me think there can be a little bit more back and forth and less of this every dip is just going to get chased in and aggressively bought like we've been seeing. So kind of sucks, right? I miss those times. Those are fun times where you just wait for the market to dip and you YOLO in whatever you have. But now that the positioning has switched a little bit, we have to pay a little bit more attention because, again, they're not short anymore, right? And they weren't across. I just showed you the SPY, but I went through all of these, and right, bar chart is a great place to do it, where you can just go to their website and for free they update all those. And I went through everything, and they've been they're now kind of net long across the board. Not a lot. Again, still some catch up they need to play, but
Yeah.
Even the Qs, which they were really short for a long time, they've kind of flipped on here.
Yeah, definitely be watching to see what happens out there. And I think we're getting close. I think we get towards the all-time high, maybe even slightly above. But after that point, I think it's going to be a tough sledding for the rest of the year. And I think that's where we got to be watching, right? Is it going to be a better second half of the year, or is it going to be better first half of the year? I mean, we'll see
Generally
what
speaking,
happens.
if you go with seasonality, second half's usually way better.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
why a lot of people are saying that it could be the opposite this time around. We'll see what happens, right? I think that's
well,
just what it normally is, right? Normally we get a hot Q4. Really, that's the month to look at, but
and
we'll have to
so
wait and find out.
well, so far, right? If you're looking at the absolute numbers, which all these seasonality does, the first half of the year yield us 1.5%. So the
Mhm.
question is, right, is it better or worse than 1.5% higher? I'm
Yeah,
going to bet we're up a little bit more than a 1.5% at the end of the year. After we've already seen the bear market, like we've been there, done that, we kind of flushed all that out. That's my bet
yeah.
anywhere.
We'll
Check.
have to wait and see. That's the fun part. All right. Getting a question in the chat to check one out here.
Yeesh.
LMN, I think that is.
Yeah, man.
Let me make this a little bigger. My
There's
eyes are fooling me. I saw that eye there.
That's
All right.
a crazy one.
Biotech.
Yeah, from $4 to 20 in pretty much a straight line there.
Okay. Definitely on the extended side. The biggest part that I'd see on this one, Imran, the biggest thing is when you're dealing with this one is low liquidity and big spread. So don't
Really
forget
low.
that. That's like the first thing to understand about a name like this is the low liquidity and big spread, at least from what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, look
Even
at
in
the
the pre-market, you have like what like what is that, like a buck 69 on the spread.
mhm,
So you got to remember that with that mentality, what you can do is you have to have an entry criteria way of getting in. Maybe it's a ladder approach. Maybe it's somewhere where you're separating orders, trying to get filled in between the spread, right? So if the offer comes down or the bid comes down, you're kind of getting those fills and getting a better entry. Now, the other thing is understanding that you're going to have some kind of slippage with this stock. So regardless of which way you're trying to take it up, or if you're trying to get out of it, you might get a little bit of a worse fill than you were expecting, right? Of
yeah,
course, you could use limits to try to get around that. But on markets, on market orders, you can almost expect the slippage because of the way that the stock trades, right? Doesn't mean you can't trade it. Just means you got to be a little wider and understanding, especially with the resistance and support is on this stock, and understand that this stock could go to the support and almost give you this wide range by that support where the bid can be huge, like big underneath that support, where you think at least the bid is underneath the support, but it's not really trading down there. That's another thing to focus on. These is where are the trades actually going through versus the spread actually trading, right? Because the spread's going to trade wide. Look where those actual like time and sales orders are going through. That can give you more signs closer to where the stock's actually trading at, right? But it's a tough name to trade here. I think I understand why you're trading it. I think you have to stay really close and look for the trend to break the high of Friday and Thursday, which is 25 and 24.88, and make sure that you don't get this quick wipeout move on the downside. We can see the trade. I think Michael could even see it, but it's definitely a
mhm.
tough, high risk trade.
Yeah, and I think so. I've got the 2-minute chart up here. A good one, if you're a newer trader to look at, is if you see a lot of gaps in intraday candles, that just means no one's trading this particular stock, right? See, this is yesterday's or Friday's. Anytime you see a little dash like that as a 2-minute candle, just means there's absolutely no action in this name. So just be very careful. You're talking, sometimes candles they do 100 shares or so. It's just, yeah, it's really problem. It's a big problem. So you got to just be careful there. Someone
Yeah.
asking about TEM. I think this chart looks amazing personally. The tight consolidation that's happening here. Call this a bull flag or
Yep.
a wedge or whatever word you want to use for it. I don't care. But there's two things we know about markets that have been studied and you can just look at forever. The markets don't mean revert over time. Markets trend, right? The stock prices go up over time. If you're one of those that are you trying to fade that, it's over time you're going to get killed. But what does mean revert is volatility. So you take those two things and you combine them, you come up with a pattern like this, where we are trending higher, at least since April, and now the volatilities mean reverting. So if you believe those two things, if you've read those studies, then the simple bet is that volatility will expand and likely in the direction of the underlying trend. And something like this could definitely happen. Now, this is, again, very news-driven stock, so just be careful. But I think this chart looks phenomenal, like one of the best on the streets for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm trying to give you guys at least the gist of the short report that was out there. So if you guys got to give me like 2 seconds, I'll at least give you something that was there to kind of look into. But I mean, it's affected the stock very little. And that's one thing to note, right? It's a Spruce Point short report. If you guys want to take a look at it, I can throw out the link, but that's definitely something to look at. Market's open here, guys. Let's go trading. We'll talk a little bit more about that during the market open, but I don't think it's going to affect it, man. And let's get after it, guys. CRCL has been one of those trades that I'm so annoyed that I didn't grab right out the gates. You guys heard me talk about it, how I thought that could have a really good day, a really good opening action, and that's exactly what had happened. And look at it now, guys. 132 when it opened up at 69, guys. So you could be up 84% on this name. I talked about it here that you had to be ready to go for when the open. I talked about it could be a great name, great IPO. Why? It was in the crypto space and crypto was hot at the moment. That's exactly what you needed in another Bitcoin run. This could continue to run today. Let's get after it, traders. Be careful with that one, but I definitely think that you're looking at the hype there and it's continuing to work. Let's get after it, traders.
Yeah, this one's going to be another one that is just tied with the price of crypto, right? So there's a lot of ways to do this that are working, make a lot of sense, right? You've got your Coinbases, your Maras, all these different names that move with the price of crypto, and this is just going to be another one to the list, right? Bitcoin goes up, even though it's one of those. It doesn't do anything with Bitcoin. It does things with stable coins, but that doesn't matter, right? It's going to get tied in with all those algos that are looking to have those things kind of move together. So,
all right, guys, I just added to my short on APLD. It's coming down fast here, guys. Fast. I also got an alert for GFS to the upside. So that's one stock I've been wanting to trade on swing trade action. So I don't want to miss this one as it starts to go higher. I want to take a little shot on GFS, but I'll look for a 38 break a little bit later to see if I can get that one. But first action on APLD looking good. What you said, Michael, on there?
I just don't know if that's a halt or not with GFS.
It's kind of slow trader. It's a slow trader, but it had some really good news last week of investment.
Oh, okay. IONQ, getting a couple short ideas come through the list right off the bat. So IONQ being one of those, looking to take a little bit of a short there. I don't like this one too much because only a 1-to-1 to get to yesterday's 2-day view app, but a couple of those coming through. So we'll keep an eye on these names coming through as they happen.
AMD flying. That's what I want to hear, man. And where'd you know it? Your boy Money Mitch all over that trend trade. And there it goes. There's AMD now towards 120. It talked about, could we get a 120 breakout? There it is. There's the 120 breakout above. We talked about this one, and when it broke the 116, it's been holding really well. Now getting going, and I've talked about it. This is a retail favorite. Everyone wanted this stock at the beginning of the year. It kind of broke down, and some people forgot about it. Now I think the traders that stuck with it are really starting to make their money, and it's moving. ARM moving strong, out the gates also, and momentum names actually coming down like Palantir.
Yeah, it's this one makes perfect sense because, right, we got the Qs moving higher. We have Bitcoin moving higher. A lot of those are kind of GP related. But then if you just look at the SMH index, looks pretty close, right? You had this consolidation from the last however long, so from Monday, May 12th, and then it's just been chopping sideways. That's going to continue. That's going to bring up a lot of these other semi names, right? So AMD, every MU's looking great. Everything but Intel. Poor Intel. Just can't get it going.
All right, guys, going to take some off here on APLD and pay myself on the swing trade. Not a bad trade. I'm up over 300 on the name here. I'm going to take some off right there, guys. Just took some off there on it, and I added some shares so that I could do this. Essentially, I sold the downside action out the gates. APLD, really good money out the gates here, dropping fast.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've got this INQ up a little bit on it as it fades back in. Again, just not super excited on this one because there's a 1-to-1, but it's the only one that's come through today. So we need a little bit more time. Again, the target on this would be the 2-day VWAP, and that's 39.65, which just pulls back a little bit into yesterday's high as well, just to see if that's a bit of a gap and then a fade before continuing.
All right, guys, put a target out to 1280s today on that APLD. I think it could go a little further, but I'll take that win any day. So we'll see what happens on that. I'm going to keep it working. Still got 250 shares, and my price moved down to 1442.
Yeah, what a
let's go trading, man. SPY coming down fast, man.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
We're ready to trade on that. Let's go.
A little bit of a bleed there. We're back into now the thing to kind of right. I'm always the one I think to chill everyone out. This is yesterday's range. We're inside that. We gapped up. Now we've turned red just a little bit, but we're still inside yesterday's range. So I think those are the levels to watch. You notice I didn't talk much about the pre-market level because the pre-market high is also yesterday's high. So, I would just mark yesterday's high, move that, and yesterday's low. So yesterday's low is 597. Yesterday's high is 600. So, if we're inside that range, I'm not too excited on either side, right? Getting super bullish or getting super bearish. What I want to see, obviously, is a break of either end before I get too excited. There's a lot of really good day traders I know that just simply won't trade on an inside day like this. They just kind of, especially inside week, inside day, they just put their hands up.
Big pullbacks in RCAT and those stocks out there that were hot this morning. So be careful out there, especially even the quantum names. Big pullback here gives you a little bit more opportunity for the quantum names, I feel like, but you got to be careful with those names also. Candles going for the breakout and breakdowns.
Just to update my quantum, I'm out now. IONQ. So that was 1-to-1. Not a huge trade, but 1-to-1. You can see it hit the 2-day VWAP. Looks like it's bouncing there a little bit from now, but I am out and moved on because the first opening range pull is red. We're putting in a little bit of a green candle here. See if we dig in, but
looking good out there, guys. Let's keep working.
Apple contrarian move up. I know Apple's got
I think that's a good bet today
or something.
Yeah, I talked about 205 break. Could play that 205 break. I'd like this to cut back down to the VWAP here so I can jump in on the party. But I do like this trade today, of course.
Yeah, looking good. Pre-market high. It's one of those. It's kind of just like the SPY where it's stuck in yesterday's range. So I think you could mark yesterday's high at 105.
Oh, that one's fast, man.
This one, RCAT,
KNW. I had an alert for the 360 break. That was a big break there at 360s. I'm trying to get back to 360s here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the entry there. Might have to step up in the 380s if I want this thing. This thing was a rocket back up there. It recovered at 310. We drew this trade out completely in the morning. Let's see if it can start to break through the 390s and go to 4. I'm looking for a 355, 360 pullback here. But if I don't get it, I'll wait. Here's the pullback. There's the 360s. I'm taking it there, guys. I'm just going to take 200 shares. Nothing crazy. You're going to risk on the bottom of that candle there. That was towards the 340s. I'll do $36 risk here. Let's see if we can get back up to the 390s here and then through the 4s. Grab that 360 pullback right on the trend line. look. Now let's see if it goes right back up. That's a throwback look, right? I have the stop at 36. If it goes back to 390s, I'll stop to break even here. I'll show you guys the trade right now.
I got to jump here.
KNW here. I'll go to the 1 minute. I'll show you guys the trend line break. So you broke this trend line right here. I caught it on that trend line break. Now we're back to the 370s. I needed to get back to the 390s here so I can raise the stop to break even. But let's see if we can really just get going.
Yeah, nice. Funny name. No Labs.
No Labs.
So good for them.
ETHU alert there too, guys. Less than 59.20s for me. That's the pullback look. The support look that we look at, Michael. That's ETHU. Maybe you could take a look at that. How's that set up there for ETHU? Ethereum pullback, of course. Bitcoin was hot. This is an interesting pullback there.
On 2 minute chart and a little rounded top here. On the daily chart, right, just still hasn't done anything, stuck inside of a range. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that pullback. It's big range for Ethereum today. Nice, huge multi-thousand point, 2.5% pop just off the bottom here. So looking at this one too, pullback. RX is one that just triggered.
RX, that's a good one to look at
as potential pullback here. Put in the first arrow here. I missed that. So we'll see if this one that didn't exactly trigger. It shouldn't have. Should have waited. It's trying to alert me too quickly, but so that one actually hasn't triggered yet. So we'll wait on that one. But just looking to see if this bounce fails in RX, if it ends up coming back to the 2-day VWAP there.
All right, KNW struggling here, guys. So I'm at the point where I'm going to probably just make sure that my stop, maybe raise my stop a little bit here. Just doesn't want to go, and it gave a couple attempts to go for it. So I'm just trying to cut down the limit. There we go. Raised it up a little bit there.
What? Meta at recent highs. Yeah, Meta's looking really, really nice here. Tried to break yesterday's range. Those are the kind of things that I'm looking at now. Right, as the market is just inside yesterday's range, it's not moving in either direction. Looking for something that is right. It's outside of yesterday's range, either higher or lower. I think it's a good place to watch. Tesla looks like something's going on here. These shouldn't be.
Starting to get a little comeback in APLD.
Oh, duh.
We'll look for a rejection of 14 here. Starting to see some rejections out there. Got to watch the SPY to see it coming back. You're going to get some VWAP attempts like on HIMS and Palantir to short. Those are names that I'm looking at, but I'm really just watching the SPY. The VIX went red real quickly here. 599 attempt here on the SPY is the support recovery. We just recovered it. Let's see if we get back through that level. I'm out on KNW. That went back to the 340s there. Took a little bit of a hit there, but just going to focus in and get to the next one. Let's go.
Yeah, a little long trade here on Tesla. You can see pulled down right off the open. Now it looks like it's getting back through. So this is the VWAP fade trade, but it also kind of looks like potentially one of those liquidity grab things we keep talking about. We broke pre-market lows and then just got bought up pretty instantly. So
right back into KNW.
Tesla, the 2-day VWAP is 297. I actually had my bot do TSLL as opposed to Tesla. So I'm looking at 1062. It's going to be the same trade, right? Just a double leverage ETF. So I used less margin on that one, but that one looks good. Bitcoin is rebounding just a bit. Same with the overall market. QQQ, right? It's trying to get back through VWAP here to the upside. So it looks like that was a little bit of maybe a fake out this morning. Maybe even though that they're not short anymore, they're not long enough, and these dips will continue to get bought. But we're challenging VWAP on the SPY. So the question is kind of what's next? Do we get through that VWAP or not?
I'm right back into KNW, guys. Took a small hit there, about 31. I'm back in it here around the 356. Looking for it to lift off through the 360s. Could have just done a cut down recollection and then right back up. So looking for a breakout towards 4.
Circle came through as a short here. I heard the British man reject the order, which makes me think it's probably just not shortable.
Reject.
Not shortable in my broker, but everything is shortable. Trade the pool. So this would be the setup I'm going to take a look at here. Is you're just risking the high day, and then the 2-day VWAP is 111. So that's a 2-to-1 risk reward, even though you're going to be taking this one really, really small because it's $10 a share risk. So you take 10 shares, you risk $100, and if you're right, you're going to be making
watch
double
out.
that.
Getting the dump on, bro. That was a quick one there. Trying to manage it. I'm out. Took a $71 hit there, guys. Quick dump in K&W. Big sell order came in there. About 10,000 shares. Looks like somebody dumped some big shares there. Probably some guru right off of the 360 break. It hit 360 as soon as it hit there. In less than a millisecond, down 40-60 cents. This is why you got to be smaller sized in these names so that you can go through that hit and then not be a day ender. For me, that's still a nice hit, $71, but on average trades, I'm risking about 60 to 80. So still within my range, right? And that's why I stayed within the 200 buy instead of like a 500 buy. That could have easily been a day ender.
Yeah, it's again, really, these things can move way faster. So what Mitch is talking about is you just kind of bake the slippage into your head.
Yeah.
You say, I'm expecting that on my exit, I'm going to lose 10, 20 cents more than whatever it is that I wanted. So if you're risking the low of the day or something like that, you would just add a little bit to that and then say, that's going to be my actual risk. And then size accordingly.
Down. Him's straight down there. I was thinking about shorting it on the VWAP there. VWAP for me, 55.75. Big move right back down there off of the rejection. Not a bad setup there. Hims. You got RX. That
triggered.
Not a bad one.
So I am short, but it's just one of those. I don't like how range bound.
So Palantir and Hims almost looks identical. Just want to put that out there. It literally look identical.
I've got my RX short, and I got my Tesla long. Tesla's working out here pretty nicely to the long side.
Let's take a look around.
Cues in the market are just range bound. So we are inside yesterday's range, and so far we are pretty much right at the open. So it's one of those to be very cautious. To say, okay, let's
that Tesla's market time. For you.
Yeah, Tesla's nice, simple, right? Through VWAP trade. 2-day VWAP is 297.07. Again, I took TSLL just because I like the liquidity. It's I have the guy who built the bot working on an auto. Whenever I say Tesla, right, to trade this instead, to translate over to these liquid double ETFs, because why not? Two times
right back,
2 times your money. So
I like that buy on AMD around the 119.60s. A lot of people jumped on that. It's back to 120 here. Watching for a little bit of a pullback here. Going to be watching to see if AMD can kind of give us that opportunity, especially around the 119.60s. It was already an opportunity. But let's see if it can kind of undercut that and then get back up there. AMD strong. Also KLC and AMAT telling me semiconductor equipment stocks doing well. So just kind of mention some names that are doing decent there. AMAT and KLAC.
Yeah. Oh yes, these kind of lesser known. I would say lesser known.
They're the equipment and those types of stocks. And I think those are important to be watching because there's some big breakouts here that are very important to watch. This KLAC is a beautiful breakout. I know it's a more expensive stock, but it's definitely a pretty breakout there.
See, I just don't like my argument to anyone who says, "Oh, it's an expensive or cheap stock." Just think about the dollar value. Don't think about the shares, right? If you have $10,000 to put in or $3,000 to put in a stock, it doesn't matter if that stock's $1 stock or if it's $1,000 stock, right? You either buy 3 shares or thousands of shares. It doesn't matter if you make 5% or if you make 10% on your $3,000, you make $300. Doesn't matter whether that $1 stock moved 10% or whether that $1,000 stock moved 10%. Right? At the end of the day, that's what we're paid in. We're paid in percentages, not share size.
Yeah, that circle was in the bad short on the round the VWAP. It's now back down to 126. Don't know if you got after that one, but looks good.
I did. Again, just right through. You can see the alert.
Yeah,
that
one's looking good. Right
alert.
back down to 125.
CRCL. So
that's why I like CoreWeave today.
The 2-day VWAP, yeah, that's a long way, right? So it had to be such a big risk. That's why I'm looking at my account. I'm not up very much on it because, yeah, the target is 111, which again would just be the 2-day VWAP, right? It's not even a crash or anything. It's just saying, right, just in this area on the daily chart into yesterday's wick just a little bit. Which is the beauty of a 2-day VWAP target is you're not saying that it's going to erase all of the prior day's gain or anything like that. You're just looking for a little bit of a potential move there. And yeah, so Tesla is doing okay here. I'm probably going to take, it's at this pre-market high area.
Palantir recovering VWAP there back to 127. Opportunity though still. We'll see if this Qs can actually pick up here. They're looking like they're picking up.
Yeah, I wussed out half of my Tesla there. Just, look at these 2-minute candles kind of up in a straight line. Just take some off the table. The ultimate target is still 297. A nice little bounce off that. SPY, this is just dead right now, right? We're range bound here, and we have nothing today. Like nothing that anyone cares about is happening today. So I don't know what's going to wake us up, shake us out of this range. I would kind of tag the pre-market high and then maybe tag this low.
Q's going higher, man. Q's look a lot stronger than the SPY, I'll tell you that much. So that tells me I'm watching for like Bitcoin also here. I'm watching Ethereum, ETHU to look for a recovery back above the VWAP. I'm watching for that kind of action there. Oracle having a really good day, guys. That's a trend breakout.
RCL. Oh, yeah. Yeah, just that's every candle getting bought up there.
Yep, that's what you want to see. And I've been looking for software breakouts. That's the first one I really could call a software breakout, guys. So continue to look for this. I'm always about themes, right? I'm telling you guys, software AI is going to be the next thing we're going to be talking about in the next 30 months. So focus on it. Look for these names, right? Oracle's already showing the strength. It might be hard to catch up to that name, but doesn't mean that there's not other names to catch up there. Another name that's been doing well, it's a big, expensive name, but I'm just going to keep watch on it, is like a ServiceNow. And
MongoDB is another one.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to keep your eyes on the leaders, right? Let the leaders show you the move and then look for it to try to catch one of these lagging style plays. One that I'm watching for is a run in Adobe. Adobe's down big on the monthlies. It's down near the 400 support. I think that you can get big money in to use that 400 support as a level here. And then all of a sudden you get Adobe back to 500. So that could be a bigger move, right?
Yep.
I like Adobe.
It's been an interesting, I'm trying to find, there's a good ratio chart you can do.
So Intuit looking good.
Spider. I own some of that guy. Spider. Software.
Yeah, software names are ripping out, man. Yeah. And that's something not to miss, guys. That can last longer. All right, seeing more downside action coming in here, at least in Ethereum, but I'm looking around to see if it continues.
Yeah, so this is the chart that's interesting. So this is software versus hardware, basically as a ratio. It's software, it's XWS or XSW if anyone wants to look it up, and then SMH as the hardware ETF. You can see how much hard or software has been underperforming hardware for a really, really long time. And this is because in SMH, you have AMD and really NVIDIA is the main thing that's been ripping there. And then ever since beginning of the year or last year, so about a year from now, we had this kind of change in character where software is starting to outperform a little bit. So what Mitch is just saying there is that, eventually, like, we know what we're spending on the AI. That's sorted, right? Everyone knows what they're, they have their orders. Will the orders tick up a little bit, down a little bit? Right? That's the only thing that we care about there. But nothing super exciting. The orders aren't going to triple or quadruple or quintuple anymore the way we saw before. So the question is, right, what software companies are going to start taking advantage?
Nope.
And if they don't, then what's the point in spending all the hardware money?
Yeah,
right?
it's the reason why I like the cybersecurity companies, the software names, and I'd also be taking a closer look to seeing how advertising is changing here. That's another theme that you can look for in the next, let's say, I would pull that one a little further back, more like 6 months to 12 months talk. But there's going to be a big shift in advertising because of AI. You already hearing it with what mentions with Google and search, right? And how that's changing. So watch that. I always like to look at these things. They're kind of moving parts, but if you focus on moving parts earlier versus when the news actually focuses on it, that's how I find these trend trades. That's how I find them, because then I have the story with the technical breakout. I can look inside these companies to find the good fundamental ones, right? And then we only need what? The market to keep going up, and we're riding these trends higher, right? That's why I like that approach, right?
Warner Brothers just took a little bit of a short here. You can see it tried to rally off the open. Now it's fading through VWAP. So it's another one. It's like it's like a 1.25 risk toward.
I've traded that bad boy in the past. It loves to do a spike out the gates and kind of slow down a little bit. So I can't blame you for that. At least the 1050s, I think you have a good opportunity here. We'll see what happens. Where's the profit take on that, Warner Brothers? Would be kind of
it's the 2-day VWAP WBD.
Okay, I'm thinking somewhere now down
1030.
there. 1030. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Break of support. It gets right there towards those wicks. We'll see if we get there, guys. ETHU breaking down bigger, and I think that's where I'm a little bit careful about the market today, because the SPY is down big and sectors are down big. Energy, financials down big, healthcare down big, defensive down big. The only thing that's holding us up right here is basic materials and technology. It's two sectors essentially holding us up right here. We'll see if tech can keep us in the green. So what I'll look for is in the next like kind of 10-minute action, what leads? Is it the names that were deep in the red, or is it the names that are starting to get weak?
Yeah, so the Bitcoin starting to fade a little bit, right? When we were talking this morning, it was up in the 107, 108s. Now we're down, right? 107, high 106s. So just be careful. That's fading a little bit. Up 3 days in a row. So it doesn't surprise me to see a little bit of a fade here in crypto. It's been ripping all weekend.
Docu bouncing back after their disaster earnings report, but pretty decent bounce back today. AMD is kind of hanging out there above VWAP, but something tells me we might get an attempt through 119 if the SPY goes down and the Qs go down. If not, AMD could be that leader today, and so I'll continue to watch it. It's one of those names where I feel like I should have gone maybe after the actual AMD versus AMDL, because I feel like that's what kind of it almost withheld a little bit of my gains there. But hey, we'll see what happens. APLD still coming down there. That's still looking like a fade today. And I'm watching for names out there, guys. If you guys got tickers, I'll look in the chat here to see what you guys are watching.
I think Blue Boy sums it up here. Just it's a weird morning. Just if you look at this, just the 2-minute candles on the SPY, I think this kind of describes what's happening. It's just these are all overlapping candles that it's going nowhere, but it's going nowhere in a kind of a weird aggressive way where right sells back down and then buyers come back up and then sell. So this feels almost like two robots fighting. Yeah. Like there's a buy program and a sell program that are kind of butting heads here. And then question is who has more, right? Who's done filling their order faster than the other guy. So it's crazy. If you don't mind, how do you make a 2-day VWAP in TradingView? I think there's other people that have already done it. If you just type in 2-day VWAP, just if 2-day VWAP. So this one will probably work for you.
Right there.
Right. So this is the cool thing about TradingView is that you can do that kind of. Let's find that again. We can just search for these two-day view app. Now I built my own. The other thing you can do is you can go in and
just slightly adjust it, right?
yeah, you can. Well, and you can just go into ChatGPT and say, hey, give me. So if I just get rid of upper, lower, and whatever. But
Use
yeah,
your smart friend, man.
yeah, he'll do it. So it's right there.
Yeah.
So let me get you the actual name so you can 2-day view app. By it's just 2-day volume weighted average price by Kfos. I don't know what it is, but yeah, he's one of program itself. So yeah, and it works, and you can see it lines up really well with the one that I built, which is perfect. It means that those two are happening. But yeah, SPY is not able to break up. It's not able to break down. We're just consolidating sideways, which is why a lot of these fade ideas I think are working, and we're getting these independent moves. So like Tesla looks amazing, but Nvidia, right, is gapping and can't move. So
I short some Palantir here, guys.
Right. So Palantir, right? These things everything is kind of running on its own accord because the market's not moving, which is what makes markets not move, right? It means that there's some stuff's going up, some stuff's going down, right? There's 500 names out there. It just means that most of these names are just not able to move. Try that one, Bill. And again, if not, just go to ChatGPT or go to ChatGPT or Claude or any of them at this point can do pretty well with known languages, right? And PineScript is one of those very known language that it's a derivative of Python, I believe, but a lot of places can program them pretty simply for it there.
Little bounce there, right in Palantir. It's right back up there, so watch out for the rip higher here. Right. Can at least risk down a little bit here on that 127.
Any Apple trades? I don't know when Apple's event is. I think that's what is going to be
It's
the big.
at 1 o'clock, but I'll double
it's
check on the
today?
timing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's probably why it's WWDC.
Watching for it. Did we hold that 125? I think recovery.
I used to. I haven't done this in ages, but I used to bring up the event, and you spend a couple times studying what all the leakers say is going to happen, and then if you look for them to be disappointed, right? The leakers are really good now, but it's before.
Good action.
There was like these big guesses, and if they announced something cool that the leakers didn't know about, you could just buy Apple and make a couple percent right off the bat. And if the leakers overhyped something that didn't get released that day, you could short it and make a bunch. But it's probably pretty accurate now.
All right, guys, able to tighten down my risk. I'm back to break even here on Palantir. Going to look for a bigger breakdown here. If not, get out of the stock. There's a little bounce. Could recover and go right back up, so just got to be careful here.
ACHR, big Kathy Woodstock, so it's probably bad.
It's air mobility, but a lot of people this morning were calling it drone, and I was like, that's a little different. It is drone, but it's not the same drone that you're thinking of.
The largest wealth destroyer of all time owning your stock is not a is not a
sign of confidence.
It's not a check mark when it comes
that I want to be a part of.
At.
Well, she's a big Tesla believer. That's for sure. She's a big Tesla believer.
Broken clock, right? And all that. She could be right, but usually it's like, she's supposed to be the most forward-thinking investor out there who didn't own any Nvidia.
She was on a Diary of a CEO, the podcast. I don't know if you guys know that podcast. Famous podcast, right? So she was stating there that the next 5 years. The next 5 years are it, Michael.
Okay. And maybe, But right now, it's, you know,
I
again,
hope you got to be right sometime, man. Because
no human being is ever. It's wild just to show you how much image can work for you, right? Because nobody has destroyed more wealth in the history of mankind,
yeah,
no single person, than Kathy Wood, and
there we
people
go.
are
Getting
still
into the green with Palantir now, guys. As
putting
we're
money
getting
in.
this Q pullback here, and it's starting to actually drop a little bit better for me here. So I'm just gonna put it up towards that top, like just a tiny bit above that recent candle, and just let it go here. What the? Why did I get triggered? I don't even know what happened there, guys. Something happened where I got triggered out there. I have no idea what the hell happened there. I'm a little frustrated. Like, I don't know if I should just get right back in. I'll try it, but I hate doing this. I don't know what happened there. Ended up taking a $9 profit for no reason at all. Now I'm getting a squeeze. That's just how it goes sometimes. I'll set the
Warner
stop right here.
Brothers starting to break down there.
Yeah, gonna get stopped out here.
Good.
Ooh, it came right back.
Tesla. This is a weird market.
What is
Right?
going on?
My Tesla is moving up. My WBD is moving down. I will take both of those. It's hard to trade and talk. See, it's easier when a robot does all the trading.
I don't know what the hell happened there, man. That was some weird entries, weird fills there for me, but I'm just gonna let it go. I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah, don't. There you go.
That was definitely weird. Sometimes I'll tell you
Words.
that was weird. It wasn't a revenge trade though. That wasn't a revenge trade. It really wasn't. It was
sounded
a
like you had
miss
glitch or
trigger.
something.
Like I was setting it like on the chart correctly, and for some reason it just triggered out. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times I'll tell you guys like if I made a mistake there, but I didn't. Like I don't know what the hell happened there, but I was all right. Especially when you see me like, whoa, what the hell? Why am I out?
Yeah.
But I don't know what the hell happened there. And
And
the
those are
squeeze
it's
right after it
it's
just
a good
sucks.
lesson too, because those are things that are you got to kind of clear your head of, but then write a
Yeah.
note and say, I need to investigate. Because a lot of traders will stop what they're doing to investigate what happened there, and then find out that, oh, it was either a software glitch, or, you know, a wrong button was hit, or whatever it is. But it's
Something
important to not let it pull you out of the flow, and
happened.
then just make a note, write it down, say, okay, when the trading's done, let me go back and let me look at actually what happened in that trade, and let me go back to the time and sales, or the, you know, tick chart or whatever, and just investigate it later. It's very, very tempting to do it right in the moment, but you know, then it's like that small mistake is actually going to compound and potentially cost you more and more money, because you're focused on that weird little glitch, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm just going to make a note, and then I'll sit down a little bit later and do it. Meanwhile, the SPY's done nothing, not a thing, not any movement. It feels like we're waiting for a number, but like I showed you guys, there's no number. There's nothing till tomorrow. And even then, we don't have anything. Wednesday, kind of. But yeah, I feel that this amount of range boundness is unusual, but it's allowing for some of this two-sided action, right? So Tesla is grinding higher for me, which is great. WBD, last I looked, is grinding a little bit lower for me, which is great. So, you know, choppiness, this kind of choppiness is bad for people who just trade the index, but it's allowing some things go up, some things go down, which again, that's what leads to an overall choppy market. Core Weave mentioned here.
Looking to see if we can get some downside action to actually come in here. There's a couple of names that are extended. So watching some of those names that are extended, probably just going to leave Palantir alone, even though I have a feeling it's going to drop big after this 127. But we'll see what happens there. AMD still up at 121, still pushing on the day.
Yeah, so again, we're seeing a lot of this, right? AMD is grinding higher. You know, everything is grinding. Everything, there's nothing really exciting, right? Kind of one way or the other. Like even the Tesla, I'm loving this Tesla because I'm making a bunch of money on it. But just look at it; it's just a slow. None of these candles are very big. It's just a very, very grindy kind of market, right?
Yeah,
Hood,
RCAT was an interesting look.
yeah,
If I
maybe.
would have bought my playbook look on RCAT, it was to buy the $8 like kind of gap down and then look to see if it comes right back up. It's done the move, but I never took it on that first pullback through the 825. So that was just kind of just playing the pre-market like prior resistance of $8. It held it pretty well. We'll see if it can break out to 9. It's a weird looking candle right now in the daily, so I
Mhm.
still don't think we've picked a direction there. But just watching the cues here, we're sideways. We're trying to break out. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's again, it feels like you're waiting for a news event, but as we mentioned, there's no
Well,
news
there
event
is
coming.
right. There's
So
China and U.S. talk.
yeah, but
That's what
that's
I
not
think they're
like
waiting on.
I just mean today, or is that meeting
That's
happening
today.
today?
Yeah, that's in
Okay,
London right now.
well, maybe.
It's in London. They want to hear what Trump has to say about China. I
Mm,
think that would make sense at least. And no more Elon
yeah,
talk, as their relationship is dead now.
yeah. I don't think anyone. I think this is who said it was it Taki. Yeah, the market is numb. It's numb to all the news now. This happened last time. Again, the beauty of it is you can go back in history and see we had a Trump admin, right? We
Yeah,
saw
markets
what
don't
happened.
care, man. Markets don't care. Unfortunately, that's just the way things work, guys. If you think that the markets care, well, then that's just not the way the market works. It's not logical, guys. It just moves on a pricing mechanism.
Hmm.
And with that being said,
It's a
it
voting
can just
machine and a
continue
weighing
moving,
machine, right? What's that? The
right?
proper quote: market voting machine.
Tesla topping out a little bit here in the 294s, watching to see if we're going to get a quick drop here. But APLD, guys, I'm just letting it work. I'm almost not trying to look at it because every time I look at it, I'm starting to feel that pressure, right? I've already taken some gains on it. I'm just looking for it to keep coming down.
Obviously, I don't trade like Benjamin Graham, but this is one of my favorite quotes from him. The short run, the market is a voting machine. The long run, it's a weighing machine. That's all it is. So in the short run, it's how do people feel? What are the vibes? What's the positioning like? That's how the short run works. And then the long run, what he means by a weighing machine, is that are we getting corporate earnings increasing? Because if corporate earnings are increasing, the market should go up. And for the last 50 some odd years, we've had market or companies making more and more money. So the market should go up. And then, so yeah, I just love this quote. In that short run, short run, the market doesn't care about that kind of stuff. It's just all vibes. It's all vibes and positioning. Does somebody need to cover at a certain time? Right. That kind of thing. It's a great quote by Ben Graham.
Q's ripped to the upside, Palantir to the downside. That's how it goes right now.
Yeah.
Just watching for it, guys. I might go back into it, but
Nice little
should have
pop
been.
here on the SPY. Maybe I don't want to. I don't want to tease everyone. My
Yeah,
WBD is
man.
coming back. My Tesla is getting pretty close here. But nice little pop so far. Looks like we're breaking this range to the upside. The prior was it's 59 or yeah and a half. So yeah, it looks like we're resolving up, which again makes sense. The trend is overall higher, but where is yesterday's high officially? 683. So 601 would be the one to watch to finally get breakout of yesterday's range, finally get through yesterday's high, but we have to see, we have to wait. But looks like at least that short-term break base we are breaking to the upside on.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an afternoon type of day, guys. And so I'm just trying to just hang out here. I know that we're putting this break to the upside here, but you're picking very few names that are up like that. A lot of names on VWAP recoveries, so that's the look right now that you'll see around. I think like ARM is a little bit outperforming, right? KLAC, AMD, but there's not too many that I'm seeing on the high of the day move breakout. It's more VWAP recoveries. Seeing a ton of VWAP recoveries.
All right. So Tesla not really participating with this up move. It's been up all morning, like from the lows
Hood
up
breaking down a little bit. I kind of like that short.
5%. Up 5% from the lows here on Tesla. So just a ripper pretty much all day. I'm just going to raise my stop up now and probably put it below like 190, 192.
Alert
Let's
on it, Ethereum.
pull back there.
Ethereum recovering fast here. I'm going to try
yeah.
it, guys.
Same with Bitcoin.
Need a little pullback here to try to get in it. It's jumping. So I'm just looking for the offer to come back down a little bit on Ethereum. ATHU.
Archer selling, so not continuing. So beauty is it's been really good to find the relative strength and relative weakness out there. What are they buying and what are they not buying, right? Like this WBD is just not really participating with this breakout. Had a little 2-minute candle higher, but nothing crazy. So that's not what they're going after. But Tesla is up, what did I just say, 5% from its lows. So this one they're definitely participating in. So take your time when the market is slower like this, and find that's your goal, right? What is in an uptrend? What is in a downtrend? Again, we know price is trend. Volatility mean reverts. So it should be pretty good. If the market's gone nowhere and you see a stock that's uptrending, it's relatively strong. If you see a stock that's downtrending, it's relatively weak, right? Look to short weak and buy strength, and over time, you'll be good.
Looking for a pullback here on ETHU back to 59.25, but this tends to run. So I'm just watching it here. With the Qs making a big candle, we could make a big candle on Ethereum.
Yeah, I look at I get like PTSD in shorting trends in crypto. It never worked out for me. So it's interesting to see the SPY, a little bit of a breakout, Qs well through the pre-market high and getting really close to yesterday's high. So really good relative strength there.
Qs just opened up a new candle. I think we might get an inside 15-minute candle. So looking for a pullback to 530.60s here. And not too excited that it's going to go straight to 532. So I'm just looking for a pullback. We might play a little chop here the first hour, guys. So instead of like trying to overtrade right now, I'm just trying to be on the sideline and just wait a little bit. I did take about 30 trades already. Palantir giving me 2 of those outs, right? So just looking to keep battling here and seeing what we can do.
Yeah, I've got my Tesla, my WDB. Those are the only 2 things that sitting right now. I keep forgetting.
Look at this short. Look at this APLD swing, guys. Oh, good Lord. I'm trying my best not to take the money and run, guys, but look at this thing. It's just 15 minutes straight down. Now getting towards the 1330s. It's dropping fast. Remember, I took half of it off. I'd be up about 500 right now. I took some off though, right? But man, really great trade here in this APLD.
Yeah, that's why you take some off, right? You always, it's funny, if you take half off, it's going to work out for you, and you're going to be mad that you didn't make
hold
more
on to this spot, right? That's how it goes.
And that's if you didn't take any off, it would have ripped, and you would have been mad that you gave away all your profits. So, but no, it just gives you the ability to say, listen, you hold, and you look at that on the daily chart, man. This is a really strong, healthy chart. If the stock pulls back to 11, like, you know what I mean? If it's that's just a little blip in what's kind of already happened, right?
Yeah.
So it's
and what I like is the relative weakness, right? We're seeing relative weakness there. What I would really want to see though, to help, is CoreWeave go back to red, because if CoreWeave could be red, that could also help.
Yeah, because a lot of these are proxies for OpenAI, right? That's what everyone's.
Exactly. I mean, it's feeding off of that CoreWeave, right? That's why it got that run in the first place, right? Is the deal with CoreWeave is what gave it this lift. But I thought the lift was a little extended. And I always look for like kind of that 1, 2, 3, and then pull back, right? And then reload type of look. The key is 13 break today. If we can break 13, you start to break Friday's low. That's 1306. If I could see it go to that level, that's going to be my next profit take. And then from there, I can just break even, hold on the rest. I'm trying my best to respect it here. It could even bounce to VWAP 1407 and then keep going lower. I'm at 1442. So I kind of have to hang in here and keep the swing trade going. Could pay myself if I wanted to. That's one option. I'm looking for above 300. Remember, I paid myself last time above 300. So I'm looking kind of the same thing, right? Pay myself again at 300. Then just keep riding the trend lower.
Yeah, and it's there's a difference too, because Mitch is taking an eval versus real money too, right? So that's what he's weighing in his head. Because if it's real money, you put in a break-even stop, you leave, you let it go, right? Because if this pulls back to 10, it's still really strong. Like that's just a nice healthy pullback, but that's what 40% gain from here. That's fantastic. So but yeah, when it comes to the eval,
last week I had multiple trades and multiple times where I had like even like 3, 4 positions and I was up like $200, $300, and then they were all coming back on me. Right. And so in this environment, especially right now that we're in near the top versus the beginning of what I think is the wave, that's when you have to be a little quicker to the rotation against you and willing to take profits faster as you get towards like where you feel the turnaround's coming, right? So that's the important thing. Like AMD, I was up 300 2 times last week. Didn't get the trade. It went break even. The NNE trade, I was up 300 overnight, right? Didn't get the trade, right? This APLD, another 500 trade. Literally, it could be really close to the eval, at least the funded, but just took in these profits a little bit faster. So that's what I'm realizing a little bit more as we're dealing with these trends. Going to have to sometimes take the money and run and then reload.
Yeah, and partly because if this was a personal account, or if even you were funded at that point, you don't really. There's not that number to achieve to get at.
That specific goal to take.
You can move your stop to break even and yellow, because if you're looking for consistent, like I want to make money every week or every month, that's not swing trading, right? Swing trading is one of those where your goal is to take small hit after small hit after small hit, and then every now and then you're gonna blow something out of the water and just rip from there. So
already some recovery and some action really coming in on the offer there. So just be careful there. It's starting to come back. Might take the money and run. Just get out of the
so we're getting this might explain your problem there in chat, Mitch. The stop loss on desktop is broken. Do not modify stop loss on desktops. It will immediately fill. Well, so that's probably what happened to you.
That's exactly what happened. And so appreciate you bringing that in, catching it where? Yep. Our Discord, of course, guys. So
it looks like you can set a stop loss, and correct me if I'm wrong. So put in your trade, set a stop loss, but don't move it, because it seems like as soon as you move it, that's when it will fill.
Yeah,
so
it's
cancel and reset another
when
one.
It's canceling and re-putting in the order, something's going on there, and it's actually triggering the order instead of just resetting the order. And so that's what happened to me in that trade, right? And then there's one thing that I told you guys, there was something wrong there, right? I noticed something there. It happened to me also on the trade that I got cut out on. I was adjusting, and out of nowhere, it triggered again. So, hey, it happens, guys. There is going to be some slight mistakes. If you did have an issue there, definitely reach out to our customer service team to let them know.
Yeah, and that's sadly, right? It's a part of trading, right? So you have to be, you have to have redundancies and second redundancies,
holding on here.
Third redundancies, right?
I'm looking at ATHU. I might take the money in APLD. I'm really looking to see if it can reject 14. But other than that, I think we might get an attempt here where it goes to that 14. We'll see what happens there. ETHU, though, recovery. This looks interesting off the 59.40s here. I'm willing to step up here at 59.60s. That's 65s right now. I might have to step up. There's 63s. Let me get a slight tick down here. Come on.
Yeah, so we have just here on the Tesla, I'm gonna exit here. Look at
Yeah, I
at
got
this.
you.
Oh,
Oh, I hate the removing stuff.
I know we
There
were
it is.
flirting. I just chickened out. I was watching us get
Can't blame
real
you.
close to the 2-day VWAP, and then it starts putting the stopping tail. So I'm like,
I can't blame you, man.
so yeah,
That's a nice trade already.
296.73 is the target on that. So the only thing I got on the go is I've got this WDBD that just continues to kind of grind lower. And then let's go to circle here. And this one as well that just continues to grind lower. So I'm on my long. I'm betting on my short. But if we take a look at the market, it's slowly grinding higher. And again, the fact that it's slowly grinding higher allows shorts to continue to work, right?
Took a little bit of ETHU there. Started to see the spike there. So bought into the spike. Let's see what happens here if it really wants to start going.
Just buy more Netflix. What are you saying about Netflix?
I see Bido going higher, so I'm going for it, guys.
I am long enough Netflix. I don't know. It's I fall victim to the same thing that everyone else does, in which
long enough, man.
You get weirded out at things at all-time highs. But my system's got me in it. It's had me in it since the $1,000 break, so a nice 25% gain in Teslas, right? So
you just buy Netflix on the pullback, dude. It's just one of those stocks. Has a tendency of coming back. How's Apple continuing? Did break out above the 205, now coming back to that 205. We'll see if it holds that 205. If it breaks the opening level, that's where you got to be careful. At least that's where I would be watching it and be a little bit careful. So as long as it can continue to hold that 205 pullback, I think it's really constructive. Above 206, like 30s is where you get the breakout. And the breakout's really unnecessarily Wednesday's high, 206.24. If you could break out above that, I think you could really get a little bit stronger of a breakout in Apple.
No, so what I was mentioning, so here's the question, right? Did you say that the shorts start to add when the market's grinding? I just meant that when the market is moving slowly, you can short positions, right? If the market's ripping, you don't want to be shorting pretty much anything because most stocks are going to move with the market. But when the market is doing this kind of non-committal style action, and it just feels more like a slow grind higher and less like a big move. And you can see that if you watch this morning, most stocks sold off here with the market in the first kind of 6 minutes of the day because that was a dramatic move. It's the faster the market moves, the more things get correlated to the market, I guess is the easiest way to put it. If the market is not doing anything or moving incredibly slowly, those correlations can deviate way more. So even though the market's moving higher, I am comfortable in my shorts because it's a slow kind of move. It's not a super excited or dramatic move in the market.
Yeah, market's slowing down here. We're just not getting the ramp up that I need out there on this Ethereum either. So I'm trying to hold it tight to the support, but it could cut right back to the low. So you got to be careful there. That's a pretty significant drop, about 50 cents.
Yeah, pulled right in. I just, I always do my analysis on the coin itself, but pulled right back into where, because we had this breakout on Monday morning, right? Last Monday morning, I think.
Yeah.
Or yes. No, that's today still. Geez, it's a 2-minute chart. Thought I was on a longer term chart. So it came right back down to that pretty much exact level, which you call 2,500 even. And then looks like it bounced from there. So it's one of those things.
I was trying to get the support buy, but those are hard too, right? When you've seen the dip there, but it was a good level down there. The 59 break on the ETHU would be similar to that area, and it was a slight dip underneath there. and then recovering from that spot. And now I'm looking for the VWAP recovery and then just to move higher, right? So we'll look to see if we can at least get that move. At least I'm going to know my risk. I'm going to put here 59.38 in a second. If I can see this pop above 59.80s, that's the real look where it starts to really get moving here. Apple's still looking good there for a little bit of recovery. Amazon kind of hanging out at the 214.80 area. Palantir still holding on above VWAP. ARM holding on the 90 EMA sideways there. APLD right back down, so feeling good about that.
Yeah, it's very just very two-sided market, which is great.
Yeah, stock pickers environment right now. You got to be in the right stock, guys. If you're, this is not the. I don't think the time to be battling too much red, especially with turns and things like that could be coming into play. So it's kind of going with the stocks that are working, right? If it's not working, doesn't make sense to be in it. Q slowing down a little bit on the ramp. I'm looking for the ramp up here in Ethereum. Ready to risk here off the lows on these recent candles. I'll let this thing go, see if it runs.
Do you guys use two leverage? Yeah, all the time. So yeah, with Tesla, when I said I was long Tesla, I mentioned this as well. But yeah, I'll use like TSLL all the time. The only thing is not for super long-term positions. Just give that caveat always. And always pay attention to liquidity. Some of these double leverage ETFs I found they have no liquidity at all.
Palantir couldn't back down, guys. I think this might go red again. I might take a shot on Palantir one more time. It just seems to me like we just can't get going today, but it could just be the algorithmic play that's being played upon right now. It is still going up on the day. We're going up, but it's very slow and it's very methodical, let's say.
Yeah, it's not excited. There's like, it's trying to hard to like, and I'm trying to put this in words for the chat, but it's one of those, it's like, there's times that you can tell that there's like a lot of demand for stocks or a lot of supply for stocks. And this doesn't feel like any of those. It just feels like, because the market is just a basket of stocks, you got some going up, you got some coming down, and it's just just chopping sideways, right?
We're just chop.
And that's okay. It just means, you can tell quite often our tone will change. It's not as exciting because we don't want to get you guys excited because we're not as excited because things aren't going crazy. And just make sure you're trading accordingly. If you see profits, take them,
Yeah. And also being a little smaller during this time makes sense too, at least for me, because a lot of times I'm trying to catch a bigger move than the faster move, right? So with that being said, you got to maybe give yourself a little bit more of a range and waiting for the range to actually like kind of play out, right? Q's still trying to make the move. Now we at least got a nice stair step to 532. Can it take 532? We'll be watching for it. SPY put a good candle there too. We need some news, man. I'll tell you what, guys, let's talk a little bit. Let's take this time since the market's nice and slow to talk about the competition. Of course, you guys see it in the description below. Definitely go ahead and click that link. I'm going to throw it up in the chat here also so you guys can go ahead and sign up for the competition. I want to see you guys there. Don't miss it there. I'm going to throw it up in the chat here. There's the message. And of course, guys, don't miss it, guys. It's going to be a fun tournament. It's a team competition. Yes, I said that right. We'll all be a part of it, guys. The one team, one account trading competition starting on the 16th to the 18th. And there's over $675,000 in prizes, one for all, competing against the Qs. You don't want to miss it, guys. You'll be able to trade with us on a $1 million account. Yes, I said that, guys. $1 million. We'll be getting after it and making some money. We'll see. I think I might actually just trade the Qs. I want to outperform the Qs by trading the Qs. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I was thinking kind of the same thing. Well, what I'm almost thinking of doing is I think we should be risk managers for what's going on. So if we see,
we're gonna hedge. We're gonna hedge what the negative positions. We're gonna go and hedge them.
Because I bet you're gonna see a lot of people either buying, probably
Unless-
shorting a lot of like penny stocks and stuff. So we
Yeah,
need
we're
to
gonna go
find something
long
from
it. We're
alongside.
gonna go long. They're short. We're gonna see like, oh, so you're short 10,000. Let's go long 100K here.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gonna be a fun competition, guys. We'll figure out how the really kind of it plays out, especially after the first couple of days. First day is gonna be kind of a wait and see kind of thing. But hey, get after it, guys. It will be a fun competition, and I don't want to see you guys miss it. Of course, you want to be a part of the Discord to see kind of trade ideas and some more flow on that. So definitely get to the action. Link right there in the chat, and like always in the description below.
yeah, so keep
ETH
talking
been going
about,
into the green a
I
little
was gonna
bit
say
here.
keep talking about the contest, because holy smokes,
That's what I'm trying to do, man. I'm
we're
trying to
actually
talk
starting
it
to
up
move.
here. Let's go, Qs.
Just going to,
I got to push there on Ethereum, back up a little bit. So tightening down the risk here. I'm just going to go to $30 of risk. Oh, no, that adjustment thing. No, don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. It almost did it to me. I could feel it. It was doing some weird thing. So yeah, those stops, I'm going to have to do it differently here.
yeah, I'm looking just here. Trump to host event highlighting investment accounts for kids. That's the only thing that came through. Our boy Walter's sleeping too. His last tweet was 15 minutes ago. That's like a million years for.
Yeah, they're taking a nap out there today. It's a nap type of day. Hey, that's just how it goes.
And this is so important in the market, because I remember when I was a young lad in the market, you just expected like gains all the time. You said, okay, so I want to make 100 grand a year, and then you start going backwards. It means I want to make this much a month, and this much a week, and this much a day, and then you trade for any amount of time. You realize that that's just craziness, right? There'll be 80-20 principle, right? There'll be 1 month that will make up a huge amount of gains for your trading, and then nothing, right, for a long period of time. So that's why we are kind of just commenting over and over again that everything is range bound, but we're getting trends on different markets. It's not the day to really swing for the fences, and we just want to make sure that everyone knows that, right? There's days that me and Mitch just don't shut up about trades that we're in because everyone's ripping, and just today's not that day, and that's okay, right? You don't have to go after it every day. There's days to go crazy, there's days to chill out. This is one of the days, right?
Yeah, right now, guys, seeing this Ethereum start to pick up here. Now I can take my shot for the win here. We're going to go for it here. I'm going to add 100 shares and let this thing kind of run to see if it wants to go here. Let's see what happens. I'll show you guys my chart before I take the ad, where most traders would all have already done it. Let's go ahead. Let's do it here as it starts to go for the 60 break. I'll go for the ad here. There's 59.93s, 59.96. Can I see the 60 show up there? I'm going to be patient here because it could just be trying to catch traders on the offer, essentially looking for an actual trade towards 60. So I can use a time in sales to tell me that, right? And we'll see if we get it through here and it starts to be that breakout. Why that's 60? Because that's the trend line approach, right? I have a feeling we could touch it and pull back. So I'm looking for an expansion away from that and really starting to get back towards the hourly breakout, which is a move back above this 60 and starting to go higher. So let's see if Ethereum really wants to move today. I'm in the green at least a little bit here, and this is the time to look for the move. We'll see if we get the move, and the Q's slowing down at 532s. So big watch there.
Well, Fartcoin's moving, so maybe we're getting some flip up. We're actually getting new highs today on Bitcoin as well, so that's super interesting, right? That looked like it was pulling back a little bit earlier. It was at 108. We pulled back to 106, and now it looks like it's back to or maybe over 108 today. So it could be. Again, I love the fact that this looked so much like a Head and Shoulders, that everybody was talking about the Head and Shoulders.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't happen, those are sometimes the greatest trades. Fail patterns, right? My buddy Brian Shannon, one of his quotes that I love is, right, from failed moves comes fast moves. And it looks like we had a failed breakdown in crypto that could lead to a very fast reversal in the crypto market. So great. I'm all for it. I still own a hilarious amount of Fartcoin. I've got my break-even stop on it, and then I've got my profit target of 420. And one of those two things will happen, or I'll pass these down to the kids. I'm not doing anything between either of those two events.
We'll see what happens today. Can Trump come out with some good news? Maybe drive this market higher? I mean, I think we need to get a big candle here, dude. We need a big candle. We need to go away from this thing, man.
Well, and I think all-time highs are going to happen
On a big day. I
on
think
a
it's not
big
going to
day
be on
like
a
that.
day
Yeah.
on a day where it's like a stair step. I don't think we're going to stair step to the new all-time high. I think we're going to put in a big bar.
Yeah, it'll
Big
either
bar above
be
it.
a big gap or it will be some news event or
Yeah,
something, and we'll
something to
just
get
be
us
there.
just straight above it and then look for the profit taking. That's what
Yeah.
I'll be watching for. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, some hot names really showing up on the scanners out there. Of course, UAVS starting to recover that 150. This is a big watch out there for you drone players out there. Look at this one. This one's holding now, starting to break above. So if you want to take a look at a stock, I'm always going to give you guys those names that are moving out there. That's one of the things I like to do often. RCAT came back to the 850s, but something tells me this one doesn't want to make another move here. Maybe more of a reload sidestep here is what we need here on RCAT. But that's just based on the day and the action that I'm seeing right now. We'll see what happens there in RCAT. It was a good little move back up there. UMAC, definitely a little bit of a better move there, but still kind of just being kind of developing, but not really giving you that breakout look, right? So we'll see what happens there on these drone players. Joby, also a big watch today, also more fake out look, right? To me, this tells me that I don't really just want to keep jumping in these names. At least the supports are getting bought, but we're not making big breakouts, and this looks like a little bit of a trappy kind of chart for me there on Joby. I think it could be making this pullback back to the 9. So a lot of times we're getting these names that they get looking good. They pull back and reload because we're getting more sideways action, consolidation versus kind of breakout. So I'll be looking for this kind of red area. Can you pull back into that area and then kind of reload to go again on Joby? Just trimmed on UMAC. There you go. I see the chat making some cash, and then that's what it's all about, man. At the end of the day, we're here to make some cash, and days where you're feeling like you're not seeing it perfectly, those are even better days to make some money, right? And if you're in the green, sometimes it's okay to be like, hey, I'm not seeing it today. I'm gonna take my money. I'll be back tomorrow and hopefully see things in a better way. So it looks like you trimmed and took some cash, not seeing it perfectly. Hey, it's all about making money here and give yourself a pat on the back for execution towards that. And I think that's very important. Sometimes traders get too focused on making the best trades versus just making money and just continuing the move. Because at the end of the day, if you focus on that, what you're going to do, you're not going to let like one day be that day that really kind of breaks you because you were looking for the best trade of the day. You're just going to be focused on, hey, I did my job today. Let's keep working.
Yeah, it's the swaggy stocks. Yeah, I like that too. It's a good one to check out. But
Swaggy stocks, that's not a bad one. Not a bad one.
Yeah, he was real big. I haven't checked. It's just like
I
brought me
think he
back.
likes some of the cybersecurity stocks right now. I keep up with all those guys. So I bring a lot of those trades and the ideas. I talked about the cybersecurity names for a while now, right? It's a reason why. All right, guys, getting this lift attempt here in Ethereum. I'm going to take the shot, but I feel like it's a little trappy here, but I'll take the shot if it goes through the 60.
Yeah, he does a lot of. Oh, he's still doing. Because I was wondering if he was still doing. I know Reddit locked down on APIs, and what the swaggy stock was doing was a lot of API withdrawals from Wall Street Bets.
Oh, huh.
And yeah, but no, he's still going. I'm on his website. Good for him. Because yeah, this isn't one of those kind of guru type. He pulls in data, which I love, and he looks at Max Payne areas for social sentiment, all that kind of stuff. So it's cool. Yeah. But yeah, I thought he might have gotten hit with Reddit trying to make more money off these API pulls. But so either he paid up or he figured out a way around it. Which, especially if you're only dealing with one subreddit, I think you would probably do some scraping.
Yeah, you could figure it out still. The APIs nowadays are what a lot of people are trying to make money on, right? So,
Yeah, and then with a lot of agents, you can just go around them, right, and just
Exactly.
scrape and
Oh,
pull
here's a
down
space
every
name making
post.
a
So,
move here. I know you like to keep with space names, Michael. So here's Momentous with a nice little breakout. So if you're looking for a name, right, this is why I talk about leader to
oh yeah,
laggard style trading. This is a hated name. No one really likes it. But guess what? They like space right now. So the algos go searching. What is
yep.
moving? What can I grab? What hasn't moved? Where can I have a tight risk and a good reward if it starts to move? So in this case, Momentous has been going sideways for I think like what? Pretty much you could say what? 3 months. And
Mhm.
today we're just gonna rip it. We're gonna rip it 46%. Do you think that's because of something Momentous said? Hell no, man. I'll just tell you straight
It's
up. That has nothing to
related.
do with Momentous. It has everything to do with the space today, right? The industry and looking for those types of trades, right?
The only
ASTS.
news I see on this is enters a loan agreement to borrow up to 1.5 million. What?
Yeah.
That's like
That's the dumbest news I've ever heard.
I was
That's why
gonna
I didn't
say
even need to look.
mortgages are bigger than
Michael,
that. Like,
that's why I didn't even look. I was like, dude, I already know. If there is a
uh,
news, it's probably some fluff piece, and I think this is completely industry wide moves. That's why I try to stick on things like this, guys. We talked about the space theme, really hot, momentous. There, we saw PL Planet Labs make a nice pull, nice breakout on Thursday. Right, we'll look to see if this can continue. But I'd take a look to see other space names, right? How are those performing? And could I catch some run on that? RKLB, not a bad move today. Kind of holding the VWAP pullback. We'll look to see if that can continue to run. ASTS, not a bad little breakout there. All right. So, what about SPCE? If I start seeing this thing run, there you go. You already know the bankrupt company is going to make a move, guys. So let's see what happens.
oh man, it was so uncomfortable. MEHCQ. I made like 55% on that name over the last
Yeah,
couple
I'll
of
put you
days
up on that one. I didn't get it, but here.
from a system. This
Oh
is the
man.
23andMe bankrupt company just ripping, right? Because some poor people think there's a couple companies that are looking to buy their data, and a
Oh
lot of
yeah, they
people
want that data.
they think that's somehow going to do something for the shareholders. Well, I've got a I got a bridge to sell you. Shareholders never get anything at any of these
That's what's
things.
going to
Like,
happen. The deal will
no,
help the company. It will not help the shareholders.
it's your
That's
creditors get. That's why debt doesn't move very much, right? Because the
no.
debt's got all the protected. So the creditors, they get paid. The shareholders, sorry. Right?
And I,
Maybe if you're a preferred shareholder, you'll get like a couple cents here or there, but full on
yeah.
equity holders, they always get nothing every time. So,
All
but
right,
yeah,
guys. Um, there it is. I actually moved up my stop a little bit there. Looks like the stops that are working are the ones that you place in on the chart. Just don't use the
mhm.
charting tool right now. That's where I think the error is in the coding right now, guys. So just putting my perspective, right? My 2 cents in there. So manually, like through the order entry, that worked for me, and I was able to move it. But just kind of stating that so that you traders know exactly what's going on right now. We'll see what happens here. Pullback on Ethereum. I might just get out here, take a small loss, and call it a day, guys.
Like
I'd
the
be down
spies,
probably about like 170.
spies right back to VWAP. Just can't, right?
Just
And
can't get
this,
going, man.
well, and this is why, again, I know a whole group of people that are day traders, and they would just do this, right? They would set an alert at yesterday's low, and they would set an alert at yesterday's high because we opening up right in the
Nope.
middle of the range, and they say, "Wake me up when,
Wake me up
right?
when September ends.
Yeah, if I can get up there at 600, I'm interested. If I can get down there at 597, I'm interested. Everything that happens between those two numbers is just noise, right? There's not anyone's
Uh,
pushing the market on either side of things, right? And again, I have a whole bunch of these are systems guys, right? So they run
yeah.
systems, and part of their requirement to run systems is that SPY has to be outside yesterday's range. Then I turn on the systems. Otherwise, just leave them off. And they've just noticed over their time and their testing is that it's just they systems don't make a lot of money when they're inside yesterday's range. So it's no sense risking the capital for really no gain.
All right, guys, going to go ahead and update you guys on how I'm feeling about APLD. And essentially, it's still holding the support here. So I got to be careful for support recovery here above 1380s. I want to see it come take down that low right around the 1350s, right? So we'll see if we can actually get that low of the day breakdown. But back above, let's say 14, and this could easily just spike right back up, especially if the Qs continue on their kind of chug along. And also the thing that I wanted to really look for was a move down on core weave. So if core weave is not breaking down, that tells me that I got to be careful with this momentum play, right? At the end of the day, we're still riding momentum here, and we got to be careful with that. So for APLD, what I'm going to look for is necessarily I need to see a break of 1306 to stay in it overnight. So in this case, I can just stop at like either 14 or slightly above 14, and then look for this to break through the low. The only careful thing is once I put that stop, it's going to want to come and get me. We all know how I'm going to not be the only one probably around 14 for a stop, especially at a whole dollar spot. So it might put it slightly above that, but I'm still going to make sure that I take some gains if this completely turns around. This is where I think I wasn't doing this last week, but I'm going to make it a little slightly different, right? I've already taken 134 on this, so I put a stop at $80. No matter what, make 200 on the trade. If it goes well, I can make 400 or more, right? And so we'll see what happens with this setup. I wanted to give you guys the setup there, and there you guys have it. Now in Ethereum, we keep getting this attempt to break the 60s, but it's not working. So what I do is I just hang on and wait for the 60 break. If not, get out when it comes back to me.
Yeah, and until the SPY gets moving, I think it's one of those. Yeah, you tighten up your stops.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
You can
really kind of going on.
Get whipped on either side. My WBD is doing nothing, and same with my circle. Yeah. It's one of those. I'm not really entering anything new. I've kind of turned off the bot because it's past the time that I want these new trades, but. Even so, with the market not doing anything, then I'm not going to push it, right?
Yeah. Looks like Ethereum's going to come and cut me out right here, guys. I have the stop placed already for the reason why. It's just not going anywhere right now.
Well, that's a good for the degens out there, right? There's the Apple event. Like if you're really itching to play, it's probably not gonna do anything between now and the event, but. Yeah, right? They're gonna because what everyone's looking for Apple is like more on the software side of things, right?
Yeah, I think that could be a good trade to the upside. You're just looking for AI conversation. What the hell they're gonna do with AI? I honestly can tell you guys that's
Siri back and shoot her. Siri's so dumb.
I mean, they should have done that a long time ago. I mean, got some slippage there on that sell, guys, out on Ethereum there. Slippage, pretty good slippage there. Down to the 34. Yeah, 35. I had to stop at like 44. So pretty good slippage there. It's that type of day, guys. I'm seeing slippage all around on my entries and exits. So it tells me more and more. Sideline, Mitch. I'll be back tomorrow. And I can always trade tomorrow, especially on the day trade side, guys. Remember, the day trade's about going with the flow. If you're not a part of the flow, you're not a part of the good trades, might mean that tomorrow's a better day.
Yeah. Right, so the market will be waiting for you.
Yep. All right, done with that trade. I'll continue with my APLD trade and probably not open another swing in this time, and that we're kind of on this little back and forth. We also got CPI coming soon, right? On Wednesday. Keep an eye out to see what happens with that. Yeah. And Siri, Siri was a flop. Definitely was. I don't know about you guys, but I think they should just team up further and further with OpenAI or make an acquisition in AI. That's where I personally think Apple should go is acquisition.
Buy
because
Anthropic, buy Perplexity, buy one of these guys. You got the cash.
you
Like,
have the cash, Michael, and we're gonna
do
clip
it,
this
you
because I
know?
have a feeling Michael and I will be talking about this later some down the line. We both feel that they have the cash and ability to just go that way versus the developer's way. You weren't in front of it, right? So what do? You just go buy it. And if you
Well,
have the money, you can do it.
and that's what Apple does, right? Apple's never first. They let the market sort it out,
Figure it
right?
out.
And figure it
Yeah.
out, and then they come in, they do something that's really slick, really cool, whatever. So yeah, buy someone, put the Apple spin on them, call it a day. Yeah, series
Yep.
got to go.
Yep. All right, guys. I'll let you guys keep going with Michael towards the end here. We got a couple of minutes left here. I'm gonna hop out, but I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Of course, Trader TV at 8:45, and then we'll be back on at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Mhm.
But I'll let you finish off with Michael here.
All right, later, man.
Later, brother.
Yeah, so let's just take a look here at the overall market again. We're both fighting. I got it. There we go. Okay. Let's take a look at what's happening here. Spend the last few minutes just kind of chatting about this. And we talked about this a lot today, but it's just there's nothing more important than knowing the days to step back and to chill out, right? It's just you can't control what happens. And I talk this to over the people at Stats Edge all the time, right? Sometimes we're lighting up with tons and tons of trade. Sometimes we got nothing, and I can't control that. I don't know what's going on. Last week was a huge week for us. This week, so far nothing, right? And it's just going to be the way it happens. So this range, this feels like a waiting for something range. And Mitch might be 100% right. It might just be waiting for, the Trump China stuff. That might be what we're waiting for. But this very much feels like big guys are not taking bets right now. They have their times to take their bets. It's just not right now. So it's one of those that this much time into the day, they had their chance, right? We broke pre-market lows. We came back up here. I don't know if we technically did it, but we could say we broke the pre-market highs right here, and we're right back at it. And this is where long-term charts help, right? If you had this chart up today, this is just yesterday's action and today's action. If you just left this chart up, it saved you from getting super excited or right super bullish, super bearish. You can tell I've been pretty even keeled today just because this nothing I'm seeing on my screen is getting me interested because the market's just doing this. So I took a couple good trades, got that Tesla trade. That was a good one. Got out of that somewhere around here. I think I said live with you guys. Didn't quite get to target, but got out of that one. Geez, I'd have to go through them all. But yeah, so the only ones I have open right now are WBD. And this is just grinding slower. I keep forgetting the circle CRCL, of course. That's a brilliant idea for them. I may kill this one a little bit early. I can see it's bouncing here. Yeah, so this one might be an exit. I'll just lower a stop loss for now, above 121. Give it. So this one's pretty spready. It's pretty wild. I obviously had to take it small just because I was risking like $10 a share. So I took this one pretty small. We had the Ion Q earlier. That was right off the jump. Got a nice trade there. Not taking any more of those. So actually, let me just go in. I can delete these entirely so they stop yelling at me. Get rid of those. Yeah, so Circle, I'll probably end up getting out here. WBD, got a little bit of a trade going on, but until we get some movement, we got to be chill. Now, the one thing we talked about this morning that I think is super interesting still is how well IWM is holding on. Right, just ranted for a while about how both the Qs and the SPY are stuck in their range. Can't move up, can't move down, just hard stuck inside of their range. So if we get some kind of movement in somewhere, IWM, that's interesting to me, especially because small caps suck. There's no other way to put it. For a long time, small caps have been really, really bad. So if we're seeing these move a little bit, that gets you interested. You're like, okay, so there is some area of the market that is showing some interest, that is showing some strength. Great. we can potentially get involved in that. So maybe time to ignore some of the larger cap names. Take a look at some smaller cap names. Okay, KRE is regional banks. So that's one to look at. Again, very rate dependent, the small caps. Apple doesn't care if interest rates go up or down 1% because they have so much cash and not a lot of debt. So they're okay with it. But these little guys, very rate sensitive. So we have a nice push up here in KRE. That's looking fantastic. So nice little push there. Then we also have IBB. Is it IBB, the small cap? No, it's XBI. One of these. Anyway, biotechs. Biotechs is the other side of the IWM. If you go and you look at like what makes up the small caps, there's a lot of smaller industrial companies, things like this. They're very important, but the main thing is just this, right? The main thing is XBI, KRE. There's a regional borrower ETF, but basically small banks, small biotech, little biotech companies, some of these small quantum names and all of that. But the thing is, no one sector can really move it very much. So we just know that as a whole, IWM is a rates play. It's a bet on the fact that there will be some lowering of rates. So if the SPY can't get going, the IWM can. That'd be an interesting one to trade. And for those who like to trade the index, if we ever start getting the small caps into play again, we have TNA and we have TZA. These are interesting to play because these are very, very liquid, 3 times leveraged on small caps. So, if you're looking at small caps as a whole and you're saying, well, we got some really good outperformance in small caps, maybe I want to take a bet here. TNA, for example, if you're betting this support right here is going to hold and we are going to push higher, then right, that makes perfect sense. Is a good place to potentially pick some up, and you can use this TNA as a 3x leveraged. So look how much just off the low here. They had nearly doubled. So all the caveats remain, right? Be very careful holding these for long term. But for trading vehicles, I love these things because they're very liquid, a lot of juice in them, relatively low price. Right? The spread here is 1 cent. I'm just watching it down here. The spread is about 1 cent. So that might be a place to look. So watch small caps. We don't say that very often, but that's an interesting place to do it. And as always, I appreciate you all for coming by. We'll check you out tomorrow with our buddy Steve, probably feeling better, hopefully feeling better. And we'll do some cool nerd stuff there. Talk to you guys soon.